Hello again, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and we're going to continue our mini series on this video. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we've been running a little mini series entitled It Takes a Village. Now, if this is your first time watching, relax. You don't have to watch this in any order. At the end, I'll put some little cards somewhere over here to where you can click on it and watch all the videos so far, or maybe in completion depending on what time you watch this, right? So let's just jump straight into this one. And this one's going to be interesting because every time that I talk about this subject, I get a lot of pushback. This is not an important job. There's way more important things to worry about, and for whatever reason, this role is one of the ones that people just, I don't know, tend to not agree with me, and that's fine if you don't. But for me, it's very very important, and so we're going to do a whole video on it, and we're going to talk about it and see what if the trend continues, or maybe I'm starting to get through to some people. Maybe this is a little bit important. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, we're going to talk about teachers and caregivers. Now, this is one on my list that I believe, again, it's overlooked and it's important. And we're going to go ahead and start this video the same way we do every one of them, where we define what we're talking about. And basically, this is going to be somebody that has the skill to pass on knowledge to others in different ways, as people have different ways of learning. And to kind of touch on a caregiver again, it's pretty obvious. It's somebody that provides care for others for one reason or another. Now, when I start talking about teacher, there's a lot of pushback on this, but I list teacher because there's a lot. When I get the pushback, they say, anybody can teach, and while technically that's true, it's also not true. While yes, most people can teach or train others to do certain things, there's people that don't have a very good talent of it, let alone the most critical part, which is an extreme amount of patience. And so, you start thinking about trying to maybe teaching a small child how to tie shoes for the first time, or maybe how you was trained, in a job or something along those lines. It's a simple task when you kind of look back on it, but when you're trying to get somebody to grasp a new concept, people learn in a variety of different ways. Some people can read a book and teach themselves. Some people need pictures in order to kind of help visualize what's going on. Others need to be told. Others need hands on. I need to try this for myself. Some people need to be shown in a physical form. This is how you do this. Some people work better in groups, some people work better alone. There's a lot of different ways that people learn, but at the end of the day, the end result is that somebody learns that new talent or skill or whatever, right? When it comes to this, patience is going to be critical. You're going to, whoever takes this role, they're going to need to be extremely patient, because it can be really, really frustrating. You're trying to teach somebody a skill. We go back to tying a shoe. Most of us have been tying shoes for years, maybe even decades. But for somebody that's never ever tied a shoe, it's a really complex and difficult task. And so a good teacher will have the ability to teach the same idea, the same principle, the same thing that over and over. They're going to try and teach tying shoes, but they have a way of modifying and seeing how it is that that person or that student needs to be taught, what manner. So sometimes a teacher can assist with somebody else during, something like training. So if you take all the different categories that we've talked about and all the ones that we're going to talk about here in the future, for example, say a hunter wants to try his hand at blacksmithing, but the blacksmith, is one of the ones that they don't know how to explain their craft. They've been doing it for 20 years. They're really, really good, but maybe they're, one that doesn't have a whole lot of patience, or maybe they got taught a certain way. This is how you do it. Excuse me. And there is no other way. And that can be extremely frustrating on everybody that's involved. When it comes down to doing any sort of anything, the end result is the end result. It doesn't matter on how you get there for the most part. Some things have to be done in specific order, but it's kind of like making a peanut butter sandwich. Somebody's going to get the bread out first. Somebody's going to get the plate out first. Somebody's going to get the peanut butter and jelly out first. Is it right or wrong on who got what out first? It doesn't matter. At the end of the result is you have a sandwich, right? So there's a lot of different ways to go about when it comes to teaching, and a teacher has that ability. And you don't have to, again, depending on the size of your group and the size of your manpower, you don't have to have a dedicated teacher. Maybe your group isn't big enough to call for one, but you need to have somebody that does have the patience and does have that talent, that they can help people, so that way there is cross training, that if there is small children, that they are coming up and they're learning the things that they need to do. So teachers will also be important, at least again, in my opinion, because nobody knows everything. Okay. Most groups will have children that still need to learn. Most groups are going to still want to be able to do cross training and a whole bunch of other things. And so to be able to have somebody that has that ability to take a certain subject matter, topic, skill, whatever, and be able to help transition that into another person, it's going to be helpful. It really is. Now, if we switch over and we start talking about caregivers, okay? Caregivers, on the other hand, are going to be a person and or people that they're going to look after children. So they're going to be kind of like that teacher slash daycare slash, uh, just babysitter, while the parent or guardian or whoever, grandma, grandpa, whoever has the child, is doing something else that the child cannot be involved in. Now, if you have small children in your group, it'd be wise to try and make it to where whatever the child or the parent is doing, the child could probably be close by, if not assisting. So if you're going to have one person, maybe mom is going to be out in the garden, the child can be there too, depending on, again, the age of the child and things like that. I get it. But maybe dad, it's going to be a single dad, and he has a 3 or a 4 year old or something like that, and his job is hunting. Well, it's going to be very difficult to go out hunting with a 3 year old. Okay, so you have to have somebody that's going to be able to look after the child for a short period of time while the person goes and does tasks, so that way you get something. That person still has to pull their weight, even though they have a child. They can't just sit, in some sort of room with the child and play all day while everybody else is out trying to make sure that the group survives. So, the other thing that a caregiver will do is they're going to look after sick, injured, and elderly. Okay, so the doctor needs to be doing all the doctor stuff. So they're going to be treating people that are very very sick and injured. They're going to be doing a lot of triage. Just a lot of the more upper scale, upper end of the medical end, and so they don't need to be looking after somebody that's got a stuffy nose, or once the doctor has already done what the doctor can do. You would kind of think of these people as maybe like a nurse or something along those lines, that they're just there to look after and make sure that the person is healing, is okay, they're not injuring themselves any further. And it gives them to where it frees up the doctor, the sick, injured, elderly, whoever it is, they are still getting cared for and looked after. So again, it's another one that I kind of feel that it's overlooked. People kind of take advantage of it, and they just go, well, anybody can pop in and overlook. Yeah, but then those people usually get forgotten about. So you need to make sure, though, that whoever is going to be a caregiver, they're passionate, okay? And they need to be passionate by nature. Uh, you can't assign this role to just anybody, because you have to put it into the perspective Depending on who it is, being injured, being sick, you're already in an SHTF situation. It's already scary, it's traumatic. You need to have somebody that has that passion to where they can show compassion, right? They can come in, they can kind of wipe away a little bit of that fear and just make somebody feel like they're not alone, that, they still matter, things are okay, and that, they're going to get better. And so they should have a lot of patience. They should have a lot of understanding. They should have basic first aid skills as well as really, really great communication skills. So, depending on the situation, this can be a full time job, depending on how many people you got and things like that. Or it could be a part time job for one or two people or something along those lines. So, to continue on, I'm going to kind of close up with a little bit of these final thoughts here. So, when you're talking about this, a teacher or a caregiver, I find that when most groups kind of come to me with help on, assessing their plans and things like that, these two roles are often forgot about. And the irony is that most of the time, it's groups of families that have small children or elderly or both. And it's one of those ones to they assume that little Johnny is just going to shadow mom or dad all day, or that 90-year-old grandma is going to be just fine if you just stick her on the front porch with some iced tea. There's some tough questions when you start getting into SHTF, and a lot of people, they just like to focus on one, two, three aspects, and they don't get the full picture. And I think that's a huge mistake. So when you start going into this, you got all sorts of things to consider. Sickness is always going to happen. Injury is always going to happen. You never know. SHTF doesn't care what's going on in your life. Somebody could be pregnant when SHTF happens. Somebody can get pregnant after it happens. You could have something to where a child wanders onto your property. A long distance family member just suddenly shows up, and so you have to kind of prepare for the potential of things happening that you didn't foresee. That's kind of what, preparing is. It's having those things set aside for the just in case. And when it comes to things like patience, it's a hard trait to master. Either you are one that you are, a really patient person, or you maybe a short fuse. You're not going to learn patience overnight. And a frustrated person can not only become a problem, but they can also become dangerous. So I would personally rather have somebody in this category so this job and role is covered, and have it to where maybe they're not needed as much as, maybe what I anticipated, than to really, really need somebody into this job. And all you have when you look around is 10 of your drinking buddies that are all hotheads. It's not going to be a good thing. So just imagine you're going to have sick people. You're going to have a kid or two in your group. You guys need to, just remember that you got to pull together, and just kind of get some of the stuff covered. I want to give you the idea so that way you can start thinking about it now. uh, you don't need your builder getting hurt. You don't need your security guy getting sick. And now you're trying to cover not only a caregiver to look after them, but now you've got to find somebody to cover their positions as well. Now you're scrambling because you're low on manpower as it is. And now you got to pull people from other roles to cover these jobs, pull people from another role to look after them. And it's time to start thinking about these things now before you fully dismiss them off as unimportant. Now, again, there's a ton of different jobs and roles and responsibilities and topics and everything that we can cover. The point of this is I want to get you to think. I don't want to spoon feed you anything. I want to just lay down some ideas, get you thinking critically, and you figure out what works best for you. If this does not pertain to you and you go, I don't need any of that, that's fine. You can disagree with me. But I'm sure there's somebody out there that went, oh man, you know what? A caregiver's not a bad idea. So, but that's what I've got for you for this one. I know it's a little longer, but I'm kind of passionate about having these kinds of people into this. So if you made it this far in the video, guess what? You rock. I appreciate you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a blessed day. Stay tuned because there is definitely more information to come. With that, I want to remind you to always remain united because we're all prepping in this together.